Hi friend, Krista here. Welcome back to another day of Vlogmas. I am so excited today to talk about rereading books. Are you somebody who rereads a lot of books or not? There's always so many books coming at you, especially if you are a consumer of booktube or bookstagram or book talk. There are so many book recommendations that are coming at us all the time from every direction that always sound so good. But sometimes I have an urge to pick up an old favorite, but I don't do it often. I don't do it often at all. This year, earlier in 2025, I reread books 1 and 2 of the Ember and the Ashes series, and it was so fun to go back and remember reading these books. I'm someone who forgets pretty easily, but it's so fun to go back and remember. I have just a very few books. I can think of 3 books that I've read multiple times in my life. Anne of Green Gables, of course, all-time favorite ever. I read it every few years. The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien is another childhood favorite that I've reread multiple times, as well as The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Not the whole series of Anne and not the whole series of the Chronicles of Narnia, but The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe I've read many, many times. The Hobbit and Anne. But this year, I think I want to make it a priority to revisit some books that I've read since starting BookTube that I kind of that I have such fond feelings of, that I remember loving most of them. One of them I'm not sure if I'm going to still like, so I need to know if I need to unhaul it or not. But for the most part, I just really remember loving these books. And so I want to revisit them and see if I will like them. I have 13 books here to talk about today, so that doesn't quite fit into one a month. We'll see if I get to all 13. These are not leaving my shelves. I just really want to see if I still love these books. Let me tell you what they are. For the most part, I do not have these prioritized in any way, except that this first one I'm going to show you is top priority. And it is Theo of Golden by Alan Levi. This is a book that I absolutely loved in 2025, and the audiobook for this just came out in December, this month, just a couple days ago. I have the audio from Libro FM. I've already got it ready to go. I cannot wait to reread this by listening to it on audio. I did read it in print. I absolutely loved it. I may tandem read because I would like to mark some of the quotes in here, but I might just, for this second read of it, listen to the audio and enjoy it that way. So that is definitely top of the list. The rest are, if I get to them, I get to them. I do have the first Harry Potter book. I have all 5 that have been made into these that have been adapted into these illustrated versions. And I would like to reread them with this version that's filled with amazing illustrations. I have read through the whole series twice, once in print, once on audio. So I think this will be a fun way to revisit the series. So I'm just putting the first book on this pile. We'll see if I get to it. I don't want to keep saying we'll see if I get to it. That's kind of the case for all of these. Another one that's on the list, in particular because I want to listen to the audiobook, is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I know that the audio for this is phenomenal, but I read this book in print. I've been recommending it to people to read on audio because the audio is so good. I've heard bits and pieces of it, but I haven't listened to the whole thing. So the movie for this is coming out in 2026. I think it will be really fun to revisit Project Hail Mary. This takes place in space. It's science fiction. It's not my normal go-to genre, but I absolutely loved it. And so I would really love to revisit the audiobook of this and experience it that way. So that's on my list. A book that I read before being on BookTube. So I guess not all of these are since I've been on BookTube, but Ted Dekker is an author that I used to say was one of my favorite authors of all times. And I haven't read anything by Ted Dekker in a very long time. I would really like to visit the Circle series. This is book 1, Black. There's white, red, and green as well. This is one of my first Ted Dekker books. It's also kind of sci-fi. We follow this man who, when he sleeps, he's in another world. And when he wakes, he's in the present day world. But he learns that those worlds kind of impact each other in certain ways. So very fast paced, very high intensity. I just would really love to revisit some Ted Dekker this year to see if I still love him. I don't know. 2 that I learned about very early on in my BookTube days when I was watching Reagan from Peru's Project. She introduced me to Blackmore and Edenbrook. So these are both on the list. These are by Julianne Donaldson. They are proper romances that I don't know if they're Regency or not, but they're just romances that are really sweet. And stand out in my mind. I can remember bits and pieces of the story, but not all of the story. So I would just really love to revisit these. I think they would be fun romances to come back to. Just looking at those gets me excited to read them. A couple historical fiction that have been on my mind that I would like to revisit. One of them is A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. This is about a man in Russia who gets sentenced to live out the rest of his time in this hotel, which sounds like it's going to be very slow and boring. And this is the book that taught me. I used to say that I didn't like character-driven stories, but I do if I like the main character. And this book taught me that because this book, we really do follow Count Rostov, and it takes place all in this hotel. So there's not a lot that happens. It's a little bit slow paced. Some people found it very slow paced, but I really love the Count. So I didn't care. I loved following him in his friendships, in the relationships that he had in the hotel. There's an intergenerational friendship in here as well, which I really love. So there's a lot that this book taught me about my reading. And so I just think it would be really fun to reread this one. I also love epistolary novels. In January, some of my women that I watch here on YouTube are hosting Epistolary January. So I would love to get to this one in January. The Guernsey Literary Potato Peel Pie Society by Mary Ann Schaefer and Annie Barrows. This is a book written in letter format. It takes place on the island of Guernsey during World War II. So there's a historical element aspect to it, a little bit of a romance in there as well. I really loved this one, and it's been years and years since I've read it. So I would love to revisit that one. And then an author I haven't read from in a while. She has tried her hand at a couple different genres since this book. This is the first one. Was this her debut? Maybe Hum If You Don't Know the Words by Bianca Murray. I absolutely loved this book, which takes place in South Africa at the very beginning of apartheid. So we learn a lot about South Africa and its culture and apartheid and the race differences there and the struggles that people had. Apparently I tabbed this one a little bit. I don't really remember too much of the story though, so I'm really looking forward to revisiting this and getting back into that world. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. Am I excited about all these? Yes, I am. Another one that I read quite a few years ago is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is sci-fi. It takes place after kind of a pandemic. It's the world. And we follow this group of traveling thespians who travel from village to village putting on these plays. There's more to it than that, obviously, but this takes place post-apocalyptic story, which I really enjoyed when I first read it. So I would love to see how I think about that one now. Another one with an elderly main character who is just endearing and lovely, All the Lonely People by Mike Gale. I think I learned about this from Currently Reading podcast. And then I had my Patreon book club book, Read It Together, a couple of years ago. And I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it. In it, we follow an older man, don't remember his name, Hubert, who talks to his daughter on the phone. He lives a solitary life in a community, but he doesn't really interact with other people very much. But when his daughter calls, he makes up this whole world of adventures and outings that he's taking and friends that he has that he doesn't really have. Well, then she says she's coming to visit and he has to create this lifestyle for himself that he's been talking to her about. So some neighbors get involved in a kind of a found family friendship aspect to this. I just really, really loved it. So that would be a good one to revisit. And then The 100 Years of Lenny and Margot by Marianne Cronin. I really would love to reread this one. This one I didn't read too long ago. I might have read this in 2023 or 24. I don't remember. A couple years ago, but it has an intergenerational friendship between Lenny and Margot. Both of them live on the terminal illness ward of a hospital because they're both terminally ill. And one of the programs of the hospital is to have an art room. And they start this project together of creating 100 pieces of art for each of the 100 years of their lives. So Lenny is 17 and Margot is 83. And so in the process of creating art together, Lenny tells Margot her story, Margot tells Lenny her story. So there's a bit of a historical element to it there. Lenny is really struggling with being a teenager who's on a terminal illness ward. And I loved those conversations that she had with the chaplain at the hospital as well. And it was really, really heartfelt. I definitely cried in most of these, I would say. The last one is one that I've kind of given up on this author. I don't really read anything from her anymore, but I think this was my first book from this author. And so I just want to revisit this one and see if I want to keep this one on my shelves. I'm not sure. I think I've read 2 others by this author and I haven't kept them. And so I need to know if I'm going to keep Beach Read on my shelves by Emily Henry. I remember really enjoying this when I read it. And so I was really bummed when I didn't enjoy subsequent books by her. So do I need to keep this one? I don't know. So Beach Read is a romance between two authors who write very different types of books, but they kind of bring the other along as they explore their genre, as they're working on their new books to help them write better or something along those lines. But there's a romance. They were both in beach houses next door to each other. They communicate through the window a little bit too. And yeah, I don't really remember. I don't remember too much about most of these, but I do remember having strong feelings about them one way or the other. And I think it would be fun to reread them in 2026. We'll see if I create some kind of board or challenge or spinner wheel or something for myself to work on it throughout the year, but these will live on their own somewhere. I haven't figured out where, but they will have their own spot so that they stay in the forefront of my mind. And hopefully I will get to many of them. We'll see. Let me know if you're a big rereader or not. If you had to pick one book that you would want to reread in the new year, what would you pick? I'm very curious. Let's chat in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching another day of Vlogmas, and I'll talk to you in another video tomorrow. Bye.